Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Starlight Haven. My name is Tabetha Romero, and I'm here with a live channel for you to receive if you would like to. And it's all about your story, who you are, reliving that teenage stage, what that teenage stage was even about, and, coming to a place where we are being creators again, where we are taking action, we're taking embodied choices to become again more embodied and like just fully grounded in who we are. We also cover our changing genetics and how some of the genetics that we are clearing out. We are clearing out some of our old genetics. We are coming to a place where we're walking through the door of our original genetic templates and we are claiming those again, but that comes with unpacking some of the dirty laundry that we've been carrying. So if you want to receive this transmission, this healing, please stick around and listen. Just give it a listen, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if this resonated with you, if I'm the teacher for you. But I'm sending you guys all so much love. Enjoy! So I'm just going to set the intention to connect with my guides, my support team, and this is a team of guides who are rooting for humanity, who know who humanity is at its core, that carry the memory of who we are within them. They are us to some capacity, like we exist with them and within them, and the same goes for them within us. And so right now we're connecting into this aspect of ourselves in humanity where we're in our teenage phase, that inherently rebellious aspect of ourselves where we are internally rumbling. There's something that is within us that wants to just break free and destroy everything in its path to experience that liberation, that freedom that comes with being a teenager, with releasing the self-doubt and remembering that even though we are at that age, at that time, that we still have rights, that we are still beings that have a voice. And so right now we're in the phases of like, okay, it's time to let go of the rumbling. We've done the rumbling. We've already had some of that shaking, that awakening, and now it's time to act. It's time to create. And so what's coming through right now is like I want everybody to tune into the cellular matrix that makes up your body and really feel that action that we take as we release the rumbling, as we move forward. The action that we're taking is actually anchored in the cells. And we're going to feel a little bit of that anchoring in right now, taking the time to set the intention that the actions that we take right now are sovereign action, that these are actions that we're taking with the knowingness of that old rumbling, of knowing that something maybe isn't right for us. And so we take that knowing and we create that action. And we might have a smidge of self-doubt that comes in, but we also know that we can push through, that our voice is important. We allow those actions to anchor into ourselves because every single time it is a bam, like this is my choice, this is my action, and it awakens the memory of sovereignty. And so in this place of anchoring in our actions into the cells, this is a full body decision. And so when we're fully embodied in those choices, we aren't a loose cannon. We're not blowing off everywhere and creating just like a lot of pain and suffering to add on to what we see on the outside. What we're doing is we're making space for ourselves to find liberation, but also we're making space for other people to do that as well in their own like boundaried area. So we're not, blowing off and going into other people's areas and like vice versa. We're ensuring that we're anchored here in the body. And so, what's coming through next is while we are becoming the action, while we are becoming the decision maker, what's coming through is that we were made fearlessly. We were not created in fear. We were created with fearlessness. And so we are going to remember that every time we act. It's like that energy of like, wow, I was made without fear. And here I am making more choices without fear, without indecision, because there was no indecision with your creation. And here comes the word Monday and simple. And I believe Monday comes through here as of seeds of the wild, of the untamed, unbridled, untold. And Monday, in this case, we're receiving it in the most simplest form as of being of yourself. That we're releasing this idea that we are being looked at, that we are being perceived, and know that we are of ourselves only, and that when we create and we make these choices and this action, we are doing it solely for the purpose of almost like we're organizing ourselves into a new reality, and that we know inherently what our purpose is, and there's an organization process that's happening where this goes here, this goes there, this choice goes here. And it's like we know the way, and it's not a process of like when we say untamed, like not like, crazy and like I'm me. We're not saying that the process isn't organized. It is organized, but the unbridledness of who you are, it's what allows you to go out and make those decisions without fear. um, Knowing that we are extremely held by so many helpers here at this moment, and we just have to allow ourselves to let them support us, to know that we aren't alone. And these helpers who are our guides, they don't make decisions for us. They just help support us to know that we are safe when we make those choices, to deeply love us and aid us in a way that doesn't, it's like very specifically this, it doesn't override our personality. They don't take us over. They spend time with us. They help us liquidate a lot of these experiences, a lot of the trials we've gone through and the tribulations. They help us liquidate these things into more digestible pieces. And in some ways, they're here to remind us of the energy of the mother and the father, and the energy of magic that's very tied to the mother. They help us remember these things. So when you have these crazy experiences with other people within your community, things that don't seem real, you can remember that at the core of our experience, we are magic. And so we are getting through a very big hurdle for humanity at this moment related to feeling attacked and the fear of psychic attack and these things that have opened holes within our auric field. If we're incredibly psychic, there are moments where we feel deep fear when we are coming to a place of sovereignty, and we are holding a frequency of safety. We can come up face to face with these feelings of I'm afraid, I feel fear, of connecting with my team, of connecting with parts of myself. It's this like feeling of knowing that in the past, in our history we have had experienced psychic attack quite often. That being a human being on this earth, as we are super telepathic, with a more negative, I don't know what to call it, negative experiences, systems that we have here, we're telepathic to some of these. And so it's hard to come to terms with the fact that we are born here, we forget, and a lot of the time we end up experiencing that psychic attack even unknowingly while we're entering into these different systems, and we don't have boundaries. Nobody teaches us these spiritual boundaries because we're under this veil of forgetfulness. And so that changes with generations. But at this moment in time, like when you, for example, like you enter into our school systems, or you are experiencing a lot of early life suffering with a lot of trauma, we tend to take from our parents the pain that they're experiencing. And so all of those things, and like not to mention like generations of you know, suffering that has happened, that's passed down through our genetics, we are at a point that we're remembering that we've been destabilized. So our cellular experience in our body is a struggle. Like there's so much illness that inhabits, there's a lot of autoimmune issues. And so when we are experiencing that, we realize, oh, like a lot of these experiences may have destabilized me. And so now I'm at a point where I need to remember my baseline safety and rewrite my genetic code and release the parts of my genetics that no longer support where I am headed. And so, while they may have supported us in the past with learning lessons and experiencing things, right now we are at a point where, okay, like, even if my ancestors have experienced that, my job here now is to hold myself to a place of like, I am deserving of healing, of rewriting this, of remembering what is truly there at its core, right? And that genetic code is a little bit different. And so we're awakening to these genetics. And so now that the door is open, we are walking through, but that doesn't not come with fear sometimes, right? We have to like work through a lot of the things that are underlying in the body, and so we have to deeply feel them. And that could be the most hard part, because that's when we start to get in our head, and that's when it's important that we lean on our team as we are learning this baseline safety, because they are there. And so we just have to be willing to feel them, sometimes even in the subtlest ways, and see them within our neighbors, see them within our pets, see them within nature. Like they are there, and they're holding us and loving us and supporting us in the biggest way right now. Okay. Yeah, and so what this is like, the biggest image that they can show me about this is like, we each have a hamper full of dirty clothes, and sometimes we carry this around, and we haven't gotten to a point yet where we're like unpacking that laundry and like being like, okay, does this belong to me? Is this something that I need to keep carrying? um right, because these may have been our old clothes at some point, and maybe right now they don't fit us anymore. And so we're going through a process where, yeah, we're like going through this hamper, looking at these things, cleaning them up, and getting rid of the things that don't fit us anymore, basically. Because this is like years of accumulated laundry. And so at some point, we have to get rid of these things, right? We can't just keep holding on to them. And some of those things, maybe they still fit. And maybe we keep them, but we do clean them up and look at them a little bit better. Um, yeah. And so part of some of the role that a lot of us who are awakening in this time have on this planet is to deeply, deeply feel some of these energies that are carried in these campers, right? Because it's not just us, right? We become a satellite for other awakening beings where we're like, we're not doing the work for them, but the memory that we hold in ourselves acts as a cellulite or a cellulite, I'm sorry, a satellite for these people. And so when they're ready, they can receive those signals of that memory, but it's not doing the work for them because they also have their own work too. But it is a support system. So as we are held by our team, we are also holding other people as a team in sovereignty. And so part of that deep work is to it's to feel things very strongly. And we have been taught, in this world to not feel, to push it aside, to bury it in the body, to numb it with other things. And at this point of in time, it's like that is no longer supporting us. We need to feel. And we're going to be, you're going to realize like at this accelerated pace that the things that maybe you used to be able to push to the side, you just can't anymore. And sometimes those things will come up in your dream state. Um and it's to help make you like a more like reliable narrator to your own story in a way, right? Like for a fact who you are. You become the director of your movie. You're the one who's steering, you're the one who is essentially making all of the choices and the decisions because that is why we're here. We're here to know ourselves so deeply. So when it's time, at this point where we are rebuilding, so you can come forward in a way and really shine your light in a place that is truly embodied within the cells and grounded into the earth, Um, that's why we're here. Okay, so you heard me speak earlier about um how we're in our teenage phase a bit, and so there's like we have to look at the narrative that comes with being a teenager and how much like is capitalized within us at that stage, or how much the system capitalizes off of that teenage phase, because it's when we are the most like finding out who we are, like we're really trying to find autonomy. And so I think that like on as a parent, like somebody who is a parent, I think it's really important to start this phase of like, oh, like, you are your own person. Like you have your own autonomy. You are, important as who you are. I want to listen to you and learn you as you see yourself, because at that stage we know that we are expressing freedom through different choices. We are learning in those phases, and of course as parents we have to keep our children safe. So that exploring also comes with us, like, kind of how we are with our guides, like they keep us safe and they hold us while we explore. But we are doing that with our children. And so when they're reaching the teenage phase, that is when the push back is the strongest, because that is when we really are trying to find ourselves in the world, because we're not really like a toddler anymore, right? We like know how to critically think for the most part. We're learning those skills. And so, but we're as teenagers told a lot that your brain's not fully developed, like you can't make these choices yet for yourself, like I have to guide you. And a lot of the time that comes with an overstepping of boundaries. And then so a lot of the time, as parents we will like overstep and like we only know what we know. We only have what we have. And so teenagers are, especially now, I'm feeling like there's just like there's been a gap. And so we have to, as parents, relive that teenage phase a little bit so that we can recode that to be what it was meant to be. Because it is a critical stage for us as people as we become decision makers, you know? And so a lot of us were paralyzed with indecision at that time because we were not taught like that we could make choices. A lot of us had choices made for us, and that's not everybody, right? Not everyone had their choices made for them, but the majority of us were our choices were made for us. And so we become um like perpetually stuck in this like analysis paralysis stage where we're making a bunch of choices for other people and not for ourselves. And so that teenage phase is really important to revisit so we can rewire that. We're like, okay, so this is when I get to make my choices. This is when I get to really feel my anger, like my upset, and, be that rebellious teenager for a minute and be like, okay, well, this wasn't my story. This was somebody else's story. And so I have the creativity of a child still. And so now I get to recreate that story, create a new narrative. And so that, in essence, is where we're at as a humanity. But in a lot of ways, it's coming out as like, like just bombs everywhere, right? Like, or I shouldn't say that. It's coming out as like a lot of, like unbridled. It's like very all over the place, kind of like what I had talked about earlier, where it's not aimed inside the body internally, it's like aimed outward because we're so upset and angry. But that's pretty much what they want it to be. That way, that never turns into embodied action and change. And so we've lived a lot of that energy this year and last year. And so now we're going into moving that energy forward. And so as teenagers, my guides call them Jeepers, people who are like steering their car. They're the ones that are in control. And so this came about when I was working with something called the Jesus Jeep, and this is just Christ consciousness energy. This is our vehicle, our Merkaba. This is our light body. This is us learning about the light body within that Christ consciousness field of safety. And so, yeah, teenagers in that stage, us as adults also having to be in that stage. Um, we're just revisiting that. We're learning what it means to steer, to be the one who's in control of the vehicle. So nobody else is jumping in and no one else can jump in anymore. And so that's where we're kind of at as a humanity right now. And so all this channel really was about, like allowing ourselves to rewrite our story. That's always what my channel will be about. It'll always be about, finding out who you are through your decision making, through your actions, not telling you ever what to believe, because there is no one stagnant truth in what to believe. You get to choose. And if we don't propel ourselves outside of this box that we've been living in, this underneath this like veil of forgetfulness, we won't be able to create stories that no one has ever heard before. We won't be able to think outside of the box. We won't be able to, create things that have never existed because we are always being fed a narrative about who we are instead of actually living and knowing that. And so we're just getting to know ourselves at this point. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys. This is a transmission. It was a healing. You get to receive it if you want to. And yeah, and I've been on a hiatus. But I had this feeling. I was like, I just want to come back and like explore myself and to just channel and have fun and see what comes through. Um and it always feels so good to do that. And so like I also encourage everybody to find your passion, find out what it is you love, dream, become that dreamer again. And let's start dreaming the earth back to a state of like sovereignty, of liberation, of freedom, and that does not come with telling people how to live. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Every person has their own path to a certain destination. But we're all coming back to that one unity place. Like we're all trying just to find union within ourselves again. And so I am sending you guys all so much love and joy, and I hope you enjoyed this transmission. Bye.